Hey everyone, welcome back to Dazzling Diamonds Boutique. So I am back with the tutorial that I promised you guys on how I created this blue wide loop chain here. So if you guys are interested in seeing how I made this, stay tuned. Okay, you guys, I want to go ahead and jump right in, but before I do that, if you guys are new here, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me. I do show all kind of craft tutorials, so if you guys are interested in seeing all different kind of crafts, not just certain things, please consider subscribing to my channel. And with that being said, let's go ahead and jump right in. So here is the custom cutout that I added to the moonflower with the crown, and I added that with hot glue, and I'm going to go ahead and show you guys the backer that I made for it. It came out really cute. So I'm going to go ahead and put it in there just to show you guys how it looks. But I'm not going to glue it just yet. I'm going to go ahead and glue it when I'm ready to put everything together. But this is how it's going to look once I go ahead and adhere everything. Okay, so now I'm going to show you guys the ribbon and the mum braids. So here's the two pieces of ribbon that I'm going to be using for the side bow. I used one of them for a bow and the other one I kind of made like a little swirl pattern with it. And then I'm going to be using this white fur. And then we have our 3-loop chain, and I went ahead and added all the little decorative pieces to it. I think it really made it pop, and it came out really cute. I'm loving this one. And I ended up finishing it in white just because I ran out of the blue, but I had to do what I had to do. And here's the custom name cutout, and this will be going on the middle of a military braid. And next we have this white wide loop chain, and I did buy this one already made. All I did was add the bow to the bottom, and I added the word senior to it and the little bling at the top of it. And then next we have our chain of hearts, and I really love this one. This one was really fun to make. I added the little pearls and then the little decorative pieces as well as the custom cutout and the little bead hearts on the inside. I didn't see anyone do that before, so I felt like that made it a little unique. And last but not least, we have our victory braid. And I will be attaching these photos as well as the custom cutouts to it. Now, although I love all the braids, this one definitely has to be my favorite just because it has the little pieces that are very special to her. And that's it for all the braids that I'm going to be adding, minus the military braid. But let's go ahead and jump into the tutorial. Okay, so now to make this wide loop chain, what you're going to need is a 3-inch acetate ribbon, and I'm going to be using this blue one. And then you're also going to need some honeycomb ribbon. And I went ahead and got this silver glitter. It has a glitter texture to it. It's really pretty. I picked this up at my local homecoming supply store. And if you do not have a homecoming supply store near you, there is a link in the description where you can get these supplies. So the first thing you want to do is cut your ribbon up into 8-inch strips. And as you can see, I'm going to line it up with my cutting mat, and it's at 8 inches. So her name has 3 letters in it. So I'm going to be doing 3 loops above the name and 3 loops below the name. So there's going to be a total of 9 loops. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure I cut out my 9 pieces. And I already went ahead and cut some of them. So I'm just going to show you guys how I cut the rest of them. And you are more than welcome to cut these at 7 inches. Most people do use 7-inch strips, but I wanted a little bit of extra space. So that's the reason why I decided to go with 8 inches. So now that I have my pieces ready to go, what I'm going to do is spray the back of this ribbon with my Eco Mist adhesive. And this is a temporary adhesive spray, and this part is optional. But I just wanted to do it just because when I line my pieces up with this honeycomb ribbon, I wanted to make sure that it doesn't like shift around or move from the position that I've placed it in. And after I've done that, I'll go ahead and trim off my excess if I have any. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing to the other pieces. And what I love about using this adhesive spray is if I do line it up incorrectly, I can always move it around to a different position and fix it. So now that this part is done, our next step is to create our loops. So to do that, you're going to get one piece and fold both ends together. You're going to make sure you have it lined up evenly. And once it's lined up, you're going to get your stapler and place 2 staples right here in the middle of the blue ribbon. Just like that, and that is how you create your loop. And so we're going to do the same thing for the rest of the 8 pieces. As you guys can see, this is really easy to do. It does not take a lot of skill or anything like that. And I think the majority of these homecoming loops and braids are pretty easy to do. They're just more time consuming than anything. Okay, so I have all of my 9 pieces stapled together. Now I'm just going to go ahead and get my piece that's going to be on the back. And I'm just going to be using another piece of the honeycomb ribbon. And I'm just going to go ahead and put everything on top the way I want it, just so I can visually see how it's going to look and where I want all of my loops to sit. And now I'm just going to go ahead and get my letters and start taking these out of the packages so that we can get ready to start applying these to the loops. And I'm not pulling it off this clear film yet. I'm just kind of placing it on there just to make sure it's going to look good. And I think it is. So now I'm just going to change my camera angle so that you guys can see better now that I have everything kind of put together. Now there is a clear film that's on these letters, so I do need to go ahead and peel the letters back from that film. And then there's an adhesive on it. And then I'm going to go ahead and stick it to the loops that I want it on. And I believe these letters were like $1 for each one. But once we have that done, now we're ready to start adhering our loops to this honeycomb ribbon. Now I wanted to make this piece of ribbon even with this military braid that I have over here, and it was kind of too short, so I went ahead and cut an extra piece, and I tried to adhere with the stapler to the end of this, but it wasn't working. So then I tried using a hot glue gun, and that did work, but that was kind of like a temporary adhesion. So I ended up using my adhesive glue by Art Glitter, and I will go ahead and insert a picture of it so you guys can see what it looks like. That was the only thing that worked for me, because when I did use the hot glue gun, it ended up falling apart later on once I went to add that bow to the end of it. And so I went back and used that adhesive glue, and that pretty much held it together, and I didn't have to worry about it after that. So I definitely recommend using this glue, and there will be a link for it in the description. Okay, you guys, so this is the last step of the process, and that is to go ahead and staple these loops to this honeycomb ribbon. And I will tell you guys that this is, well, it was for me the most difficult part of the process, just because my stapler did not want to go through this honeycomb ribbon. And I think it's just because of the honeycomb ribbon, just because of the holes in it, it was kind of difficult to staple. So I don't think it was really the stapler itself. It was kind of just the material that I'm trying to staple it to. So I had to do a lot of, removing the staples and putting them back in and readjusting and all that stuff. So, and now that I have that first loop stapled on there, I'm just going to get the second one and line it up and try to center it as much as I can. And then I'm just going to staple it on top. And when you're stapling the next loop, you do want the staples to be like horizontal. You don't want them to be like straight up and down, because then you kind of risk the chance of it being seen through the bottom of the other loop. So I try to keep them horizontal, and that's why I really like using this long reach stapler, because I'm able to rotate it so that my stapler can still staple it horizontally, even though my stapler is kind of turned sideways. So I really love the stapler. I definitely recommend it if you're going to be doing this wide loop chain the way that I'm doing it, because there is another process for making this wide loop chain if you don't have this type of stapler. So I'm just going to continue stapling the rest of these loops on here until I have them all on there. This process is pretty simple. You just really have to take your time and make sure that you have these loops placed on there as evenly as possible. And I apologize for getting my big old afro in the camera, but I was really trying to make sure that I put as much pressure on this stapler as possible, because it was definitely difficult to staple on this honeycomb ribbon. But after you're done, all you're gonna do is just get some type of decorative trim and cover up those staples at the very top. And I just went ahead and hot glued mine on there. And this is just a regular rhinestone iron-on trim that I get from Hobby Lobby. And it did have more rows of rhinestones in this, but I went ahead and trimmed it down to the size that I wanted it to be. And I'm just gonna place that trim directly along that hot glue line that I just made. And I'm gonna apply a little pressure to it just to make sure it's really adhered. And from this point, you guys are completely done. You're more than welcome to leave it like this if you would like. But I did make this bow out of some excess ribbon that I used for the backer. So I'm going to be adding that to the bottom just to give it a little bit something extra. And I adhered this bow with a zip tie. I tied the zip tie around the bow and then adhered it through one of the holes at the bottom. And we are all done with our wide loop chain. This is how everything came out. I just want to thank you guys so much. If you stayed to the end of this video, I really appreciate it. It means so much to me. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.